Okay, welcome to another episode of Critical Weight Theory. And today we're looking at the surreal spectacle that was Donald Trump's 2025 indoor inauguration and what it means when the world's richest men gather to throw a salute. And yeah, I'm also talking about that salute. Jon Stewart of The Daily Show said that charitably that was my heart goes out to you as a gesture. And he was back at the Daily Show desk, calling out what might have been the most accidentally on purpose moment of the year. But let's rewind. Monday, January 20th, Capitol Hill. Trump's second inauguration. Moved indoors due to freezing weather. But make no mistake, the heat was real. Not from the crowd, which were hand picked elites, but from the firestorm about to follow. Front row, you had Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Tim Cook, and others, the faces of modern surveillance capitalism. Collectively, they hold nearly a fifth of the globe's wealth and a stranglehold on our digital lives. And like any good villain summit, it had the aesthetic of a Bond movie, minus the subtlety. So Jon Stewart joked, are they the open source Illuminati? But comedy has a sharp edge when it's cutting close to truth, because when Musk took the stage at Trump's post inaugural celebration, and there were lights blazing and a crowd roaring, but he didn't just speak there; he performed. He called the moment a fork in the road of human civilization, which is itself a way of phrasing things that has a little bit of a fascistic twang to it, doesn't it? Then came the gesture, hand to heart, arm extended, twice, precisely. A wave? Maybe. A salute? Definitely maybe. And when it was shown on the episode of The Daily Show, there were gasps and murmurs from the audience. So, instant backlash, and Jewish advocacy groups raised alarms. Historians called it eerily close to the Roman and, by extension, fascist salute. Critics saw dog whistle transformed into a bullhorn. His defenders, they said it was awkward enthusiasm. Awkwardly, the ADL tried to call it something other than what it was. They were trying to cool the temperature. The Anti Defamation League. They were saying it probably wasn't intentional. But remember, the ADL were the same organization that once flagged the OK symbol, the hand gesture, as hate coded. So inconsistent to say the least. And one of the reasons they probably sided with Musk was because he's one of the income sources for the Republican Party, which is the biggest backer of Benjamin Netanyahu and his warlike ways. So, a lot of headlines were sprouted from the gesture on stage. One was that Musk denies Nazi salute accusation. Another, neo Nazi groups praise Musk. Another, Germany considers barring Musk over far right support. So this wasn't just about a gesture. This wasn't just about a man. This was a display of power alignment. Trump, surrounded by the heads of big tech, wasn't just staging an inauguration, but a coup. He was showcasing an alliance, the merger of state and capital, masked as populist celebration and married to fascistic causes and policies and worldviews. So, a dreaded anarchist type sees this not as democracy in action, but as oligarchy on parade. But of course, you don't need to be a left wing radical in order to recognize it as oligarchy on parade. that is quite literally what it was. They were not making it subtle, they weren't trying to hide it, even in the slightest. So Musk's Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, is a joke, but it also isn't a joke. It's privatized austerity wrapped in meme speak. It's how you sell deregulation and authoritarian creep to people who think they're too smart to fall for it. And it might be unrealistic to call it authoritarian creep at this point because it's not just creeping along, it's not very subtle. So the authoritarianism doesn't just creep along, it takes massive strides into people's lives at this point. And when that kind of messaging gets paired with historical gestures, it legitimizes retro fascist violence under the cover of progress. So let's be clear, symbols do matter. They're not just optics, they're signals. You know, it's one thing to question what a symbol should mean, or to say, I don't care that much about a symbol individually. Well, good for you. But other people out there, they do care about these things and they recognize certain meanings that others might not. When billionaires when billionaires Nazi salute an authoritarian president, and it was not accidentally, they're not just being weird or ironic. They're testing boundaries, normalizing symbols of historical violence to those who value those hate groups and the symbols the most, saying we see you out there and we are the same. So this wasn't like an actor playing a fascist in a movie or something. You know, it wasn't a band like sarcastically doing a German salute on the stage or something like that. You know, although those would be perhaps questionable enough, but no, this was an actual political rally. It wasn't like the scene in the movie Copycat, where the main character says says the words Heil Hitler sarcastically or something like that, or a 1980s punk rock song where the performer sarcastically does the salute. No, no, this was in the context of an actual political rally, and Jon Stewart called all of these oligarchs petty and petulant man babies. And yep, they are. And these man babies have algorithmic armies, legislative influence, and surveillance access to at least half the planet. So by June, the Musk Trump alliance, or bromance, as some people call it, kind of soured. There were spats over spending, a few ego bruises, threats flying. You know, Elon Musk actually brought up Trump's ties to Jeffrey Epstein, for example. But don't mistake drama for dismantling. The structure remains: wealth, tech, power, all looped together, feeding each other. So, what really happened that day? It was not just a salute, not just a speech, it was a demonstration of elite consolidation. Tech billionaires cheering on state spectacle, each feeding legitimacy to the other, and also operating under fascistic talking points and ideology. So, from the anarchic perspective, which questions the nature and narratives of power, this isn't just dangerous, it's systemic. Resistance means seeing through the symbols, questioning the alliances, and refusing to let efficiency become the new face of oppression. So, this has been critical weight theory, where we don't just watch the show, we untangle the strings pulling it. So stay sharp, stay skeptical, and to the extent possible, stay free.